Although we're not going to pause, not in the first hour. We're not going to go seasonal or go a bit sort of home clothes, as we used to say, or stick videos on for the kids to watch if this was school. Because I had a sort of creeping sense this morning of a unifying theme of all the things that I was thinking about. So I think this Christmas card is real. Yeah, you know that I usually poo-poo the suggestion that people are trying to denigrate Christmas or dilute its true meaning or its Christian values, the nonsense about Winterval and people claiming that you're not allowed to say Merry Christmas anymore. I mean, they are objectively hilarious, these people. But as far as I can tell, the sort of picture that's been doing the rounds, purportedly, of Priti Patel's Christmas card is real. And it has Rwanda on it. As if that is something that, well, I can't think of anything more at odds with Christmas meaning, Christmas values, than the idea of being delighted about deporting people against their will to the other side of the world. It's pretty much the polar opposite of what the entire Nativity message is about. There isn't any room at the inn, said the innkeeper, so we are deporting you to Rwanda against your will, regardless of where you've come from or why you fled your country of origin. It's absolutely horrible, and it's real. So I was thinking about that, because I do have a question of why would you fly latter-day Mary and Josephs to sub-Saharan Africa? What is this about? It's such an odd thing, this policy. A maximum of 200 people, and they've already spent 140 million quid on it. Still no guarantee it's ever going to happen. And yet, if I said to you, what do the Tories currently stand for? I think that's all you'd be able to tell me. I could be wrong, but if you think about the U-turns that we've seen in the last few years, in the last sort of 3 years really, almost to the day, what do they actually stand for, apart from constant promises, as yet unkept, to deport people to sub-Saharan Africa? That's it. I've got nothing else. They don't stand for... Well, I mean... No, you can't make any economic arguments, because Rishi Sunak seems to believe the polar opposite of what Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss believed when they did their mini-budget. House building or windmills, wind turbines, they change their mind quicker than a butcher's elbow. I mean, what do they actually stand for, apart from constant promises, as yet unfulfilled, to deport refugees to sub-Saharan Africa, something that most of us consider to be pretty grim, pretty gross, unless, of course, you've swallowed massage statistics or nonsense. There's a great one doing the rounds yesterday that talked about how we take a third. You're 3 times more likely to have your asylum application accepted in this country than you are in France. And they managed to conduct this entire piece of research and write entire stories in national newspapers without mentioning numbers, just percentages. So imagine if 3 people applied in the UK and 3 million people applied in France, right? And all 3 applications were accepted in this country, and only half of the applications were accepted in France. That means 100% of asylum applications, totaling 3, are accepted in the United Kingdom. In France, it's only 50%, which translates as 150 million people. And I'm exaggerating for comic effect, but that is the level of manipulation going on now in the national media, and that is the only cheerleading I can see for anything that could be loosely described as a Conservative Party policy. What are you going to do? Deport refugees to sub-Saharan Africa? When? Soon. Eventually, soon. In fact, you don't even need to deport them to boast about it by sticking the word Rwanda on your Christmas tree. And this, if this isn't real, someone needs to tell me quickly. But as far as I can tell, this is her actual Christmas card. She herself is made up like a Christmas fairy, waving a magic wand, and words stuck to the Christmas tree include things like national security, points-based immigration system, Rwanda. There's a picture of Boris Johnson, who is depicted. I mean. Yeah, this is her Christmas card. Sorry, I wasn't going to talk about this. I don't know quite where this has come from, but it seems quite relevant to the question of what do these people actually stand for. So Priti Patel, the former Home Secretary, has commissioned someone to draw a picture of her looking like a Christmas fairy on top of a Christmas tree. At the bottom of the Christmas tree sits Boris Johnson in cartoon form, wearing pyjamas, unwrapping presents. And the baubles on the Christmas tree contain the following words: 20,000 more police, law and order, point system, beating crime plan, victim support, national security, Rwanda, and for Ukraine. I think that's evidence of a country on the verge of a nervous breakdown. That somebody from the Home Office, a recently departed Home Secretary, sees herself as a Christmas fairy who's delivered untold gifts to a waiting nation. That's absolutely unbelievable. And I wouldn't normally give any coverage at all to ludicrous claims that come around like clockwork, that Christmas is somehow being denigrated or diluted by bad actors. But to stick Rwanda on an actual Christmas tree, celebrating the birth of Jesus. That's what Christmas is about. You celebrate the birth of Jesus. A man whose teachings, however boiled your brain may be, you can't argue with the fact that his teachings were about welcome and tolerance and good Samaritans and turning the other cheek. And that entire Christmas message is about people who couldn't find anywhere to sleep somehow, finding a bed for the night, albeit in a manger. And she's boasting about deporting people to sub-Saharan Africa on a Christmas tree. If that is the only example I've ever been able to find of somebody very deliberately seeking to denigrate the Christmas message. Of all the years of covering these stories in ways that turn out to be utter twaddle, whether it's that poor fella in Birmingham who thought it would be a good idea to leave the lights up to save a few quid, throw out 3 or 4 different festivals and call it Winterval, who still brings out Daily Mail and Daily Telegraph columnists in cold sweats at this time of year. It's always nonsense. Usually it's the same with flags, actually. Oh, you're not allowed to wave a flag. Well, let's look into the actual detail. But when they talk about Christmas, I usually dismiss it. But here is a very real case of somebody riding a coach and horses through anything that remotely resembles the Christian Christmas message. And, you know, the Gammon and Pineapple Party, who profess to care passionately about the fact you're not allowed to say Merry Christmas to anyone anymore in this country without being arrested, they'll love it. They'll lap it up because they're all liars. Anyway, I wasn't expecting to go down that road. But God, I mean, that's incredible. And talk about sociopathic or narcissistic or whatever adjective you want to apply to the woman. That's incredible. I'll stick a picture of it up for you on my Twitter so you can have a look at it yourself. But maybe it needs some sort of warning, trigger warning, possibly.